You're giving the intro, Luke.
All right. My voice cracked. My bad. Hey guys, welcome back to the college cabin. I'm Luke. I'm joined here with Kosher
Hello.
and Jerry
Hello.
from. Okay. He sounds a little sad today, I guess.
What do you mean? I was mocking Kosher. I'm being painted as depressed. What is this?
Dude, it's because he just ate. Okay, don't talk to him.
He's got the full belly kind of talk. All right, moving on from that topic today, as we said in the last podcast, if you guys listen through it, seems like most of you only listen like 5 minutes, so this one's shorter. So anyway, this one is going to be about basically how police in universities and high schools, how that should be looked at and how necessary it is, and then also the amount of funding that goes into police and schools and other places you can go that would help the community more. And I just want to say before anything, this is all opinions. We have views. You may have
facts. Everyone else's opinions are irrelevant.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
We're in trouble. But anyway, of course, these are all opinions. Everyone is free, have their own opinions. But it just at least has to be acknowledged that at least in certain places there are problems that are arising that need to be looked at. That problems that have been here for years yet now are getting shown more of it on a serious light. So that is today's topic, is police in school campuses. So
What's off, Luke?
I don't have a hat, but I just tipped an invisible hat to myself. I would just like to point that out. So, all right. Would anyone like to start, or do you want me to start?
I think since you brought it up, boss, you should start.
Oh, okay. Well, here's a question to the two of you guys. Not including campus police, because campus police is more like sworn in through the school. So this isn't more directed.
About like the Juan and stuff. Those people, forget their name.
No,
supervisors.
No, not supervisors and stuff. No, because like UC schools, they have campus. Like there's like UCLA has their own school. Security. They have their own police jurisdiction and stuff.
Yeah.
But this is about like schools, like mostly high schools have that. Yeah, that have LAPD posted in their schools, not the school security force, if that makes sense. Yeah, so anyway, what do you guys think about that?
Jared, do you want to start us off?
No, go right ahead.
All right. Well, since we, for any viewers that isn't sure of our district, we're part of the Hart District, or we were, and one of the schools in our district actually experienced a school shooting, back in I think it was September or October of last year, 2019. I think with officers on campus, I guess if we took it more as an approach of kind of how like San Francisco is just changing the entire infrastructure of their police force in general, where they have armed highly trained armed combat police officers is what they're calling them. I think if we had like that, a group of like combat trained police officers on campus, I guess that would work over having like a police officer with a weapon, because you're never too sure how that may or may not play out. But I do think we should have some police presence on campus at like all times at every school. It's just kind of like a safety safety feature, I guess.
Yep. I hate to say it, but I feel like right now in like modern society, I agree that every school should probably have at least one officer on campus on duty, just because like you said earlier with the school shooting in our district, it's kind of sad. But I think instead of working to like, you know, over time in the next couple of years to change, you know, the amount of police or what type of police, I think instead we should be working to like or I guess train or educate the students more, you know, and like our school did what's the like bring peace to mind
Oh yeah.
club, and then the wellness center. I think we should have more stuff like that
Yeah.
to, you know, help out students and educate them, and emotionally, mentally, everything they need, just so, because like I don't want to have police and just accept that school shootings happen. I think right now we have to have police because it is a fact that they happen. But I think we're just working the wrong way. Instead of focusing on the police, I think we need to focus on re-educating the students and, you know, helping out students mentally.
Yeah. And arguably, sorry, Luke. Arguably, it's also the parents as well. Like,
yeah,
it's not only just the students' fault; it's also the parents that need to be, like, I guess, like talk, like, you know, talk to your kid. If you notice he's always in his room or she's always in her room all the time, like, go talk to her, go talk to him, like, see what's up, and like, you don't have to be like those parents who are like playing like Call of Duty with their kids, like, but like you can invest sometimes like trying to figure out like what are their interests, you know, what's up, what do they do over the weekends, that kind of thing, just to make, you know, the kid feel a little more I will obviously involved in the family, but like a little more loved, I guess.
Yeah, it has to be like a societal change.
Yeah,
We need a societal change. Yep.
So, adding on to that topic that schools are more, adding on to that topic. Sorry, my voice cracks. I'm sorry, but adding on to that topic of schools needing to possibly shift funding from, because I agree it's good to have at least one police officer. I think one police officer is good to have. Yeah. I saw another fact actually on top of that is that I think it was the month of April was the only month, I think, at least in California. I'm not sure about other states, but where there weren't any school shootings just because all the schools were closed. Yeah. And that was the first time in, what was it? Since
I don't remember
like this entire for a year or for more than a year or something, but yeah, it's a serious problem of school security. And to add on to the school securities, schools can integrate I think Kasha has told me this idea a few times, because there's schools in, I think he said, parts of Asia that have like not even the big ones, but at least small metal detectors that because a lot of high schools only really have one entrance. Like our high school, it's surrounded by a gate, and in the mornings they only have one entrance that you can very easily just put a metal detector through, and then it'll just detect heavy amounts of metal. Because the only metal kids really would bring to school are just pens and phones. But bracelets, if you get something, bracelets, those things. But anyway, to go back to the fact of police and then mental health for students, is that I found this on, it was the San Francisco Chronicle. It says across the country, more than 14 million students are in schools with police, but they have no counselor, nurse, psychologist, and or social worker, as of a 2019 national report by the ACLU. So it just kind of shows that I think more American schools are looking for that safety net, yet for the sadly inevitable possible harmful actions to be taken at that school. Yet they're not trying to prevent it by having counselors, psychologists, people to talk to and open up to. Instead, they're just beefing up security, but not trying to help the problem before the problem happens.
Yeah, they're preparing for the worst rather than preventing the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a sad fact.
Yeah, that's why I like what Jared said earlier with the wellness center and Bring Peace to Mind Club.
To Mind, yeah. I butchered the name. It's Bring Change to Mind.
It's Bring Change. Okay. Yeah. Because I think, like at our school, me included, sometimes I'd make fun of the club, just because, you know, I guess, well, I was immature and I didn't realize how people, because I've lived this like bubbled life where I've never been depressed. So like it's never one of those things that just occurred to me. And so I kind of like that where like people have the opportunity to go and just, like speak their mind and have a place where they can feel like they're not being judged all the time. Um, and I think, I guess the societal change that we were talking about earlier is, we need to learn how to, I guess, be less judgmental and be more accepting of the fact of how other people's live their lives as well.
Yep, I agree.
I saw somewhere, I'm trying to remember exactly where, but I could find it really quick actually. If you guys wanted to keep talking really quick, I can find it.
Let's see, Jared, did you want to mention? Do you want to like, I guess, shout out Shades of West Ranch while Luke's looking that up?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, yeah. So basically, in our district, they started like a group of students started up Shades of, and an enter school name. It's basically just a place where you can anonymously submit any racist events that have happened at your school towards you or for what you've seen through Google Forms, and then they just post it on their Instagram post. I contacted one of them, and they're actually trying to get something done out of it, like contacting our principal, which our principal did.
I got an email, right?
Yeah, we got an email.
They sent the district-wide email, I think.
Yeah, and they recognized the social media account, and he said he's, if you like, he's willing to talk to us about any of these problems. And so when I contacted the account, they said, yeah, we're still trying to figure out what we want to do and how we want to approach it, but we definitely want to talk with them. And I just kind of think that's a good start to getting like any issues that have happened, just getting that stuff heard.
Yep, and it's essentially a student startup towards preventing, school violence and promoting mental health, because you don't think about it, but racism can, deteriorate your mental health and, emotions, all that stuff. Racism affects most people. So, I mean, it's a very good thing that it's kind of sad that it had to be, student.
Exactly.
It had to be student brought up and not like, staff promoted. But, yeah. I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was this girl named I may butcher this, but it's called Salim Hailu, probably. 17 years old. She goes to a high school in Denver, and she said that because most of the time police are called to her school for incidents that involve students of color, instead of just the school security, they call the police to them. And she says, and I quote, "It makes me feel not wanted in my own school. It makes me feel like students of color aren't valued." And then says they should be having relationships with social workers and people who can actually help their future and their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was important to say, was that there's people out there that just feel that they can't get a full education because they feel
there's other problems.
They feel there's harm to themselves.
Yeah.
Out of the classroom, so they cannot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate here, I'll just let you guys know my opinion is that not all cops are bad, but I used to think that, or I guess through having conversations with people that would say things like that, I've understood their point of view, in that they're essentially, what I've come to understand is what they're saying, that if one cop is bad, every cop around them that is not acting to, do them right is in turn also bad. And so that's where I understand where they're saying all cops are bad, because even the quote unquote good ones are not doing anything about the bad ones. My opinion is still that I understand it, but I just don't agree with that, because I don't think all cops can,
do stuff.
Yeah, they can't do stuff with all. It's like, it's too large of an organization, and then you have to remember there's I'm 100% sure there's entire precincts in which all the cops are highly well trained and not racist, perfect.
And
they can't do anything about other cops in other jurisdictions, So
Mhm.
I understand what they're trying to say, but I still think it's flawed, and I don't think that saying all cops are bad is fair because you're essentially generalizing an entire group of people.
Oh yeah, so Jared mentioned the fact that some people like you have this perfect cop and then like a group of bad, or I guess corrupt people, and even if this person who we consider as perfect, uh, he sees what's happening around him and he's surrounded by all these corrupt people. This person he couldn't really speak out because he'd be shut down immediately from the group of people surrounding him, and so it'd be tough. Like, people. There's a whole thing happening on Twitter right now with like Stan Twitter, where people are literally doxing each other as soon as someone says like ALM or ACAB or something like that. Like
Can't respect each other's opinions.
Yeah, they're just going in and literally dropping each other's addresses and stuff like that. And like, even though it's illegal, like they're still doing it, and that can happen to anyone. So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it's just like I like to play independent in current stuff that's happening in the world, and how I see it is like when Black Lives Matter protesters say all cops are bad, they're generalizing all police, and then when I don't want to say like I'll just say the other side. I don't really want to generalize it. When the other side argues that all Black Lives Matter protesters are thugs and rioters and violent, you're doing the exact same thing and generalizing an entire group of people. I think essentially both sides are doing the same thing to each other.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking for a while that if we as like two separate groups, instead of giving accusations to the other side, if we accuse ourselves and like do self-evaluation on what we're doing wrong, I think that'd be more effective.
Yeah, there's and like the labels that they're throwing out now. Oh yeah, I guess I'll talk about labels. And this is my opinion. I absolutely hate labels. It's very annoying. Like like whenever a label is thrown out in an argument, it kills the argument and the purpose of an argument, in my opinion.
What do you mean by labels?
Like a label, for example, someone's like BLM. If you I was just reading through comments on Instagram, these guys like arguing with each other, and he brought up that the entire BLM movement is socialist propaganda, and and I'm just thinking to myself, how does that work?
You just mean like labeling an entire group of people.
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
Okay, I'm stupid. That's
I
misunderstood. Okay,
yeah,
yep,
that's what I meant. Yeah, I think that is like it's very stupid because how can you I guess like someone how you said there's always two sides to a coin, so there's always two sides of an argument, but as soon as you pull out and label, you can't really argue that, because how are you supposed to defend everyone is a socialist, something like that, right? Like, doesn't really make sense.
Exactly.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Here's one part that I mentioned aside to the two of these guys before, is kind of with that Instagram comment and stuff, and also about that in the news a little while ago, there were those two lawyers in where were they?
Yeah, somewhere
in Louisiana or something, I think.
Yeah.
That there was just protesters walking past their house, and they held both an AR and a handgun at them. Like, I don't understand some people's what's their problem. They were no violence happened. They didn't break anything. They were just in front of their house. It's quoted in the Constitution, the right to assemble. They were doing it peacefully. There was no violence, even after all that stuff. No one incited violence on either side. But I just don't understand how. What do people? what do people see that's different? There's no difference from someone who is white, someone who is brown, someone who is just from another country, and any of that. We're people. We're all on the same planet. We all breathe the same air. We all have the same ambitions. So what makes one person less than another? Nothing. We all want to grow up our own ways. Everyone pretty much has that ambition of growing up, having a family, getting old, having a nice job, all of that. But there's social constraints that hold certain people back that have been put in place from hundreds of years ago that are still in place. It's a what would you call it? Like a phantom chain. It's not there, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how people can look at somebody who's
different.
They have flesh, they have blood, they have bones. Yeah. We are all the same on the same planet. But what makes somebody different just because of the color of their skin or where they are from?
And I think this question is a kind of good way to end off this week's podcast.
I do agree. Next week we will probably go more into this topic of why do people see others as lessers?
Yeah.
When there is nothing to make one person lesser.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, just by the bias of where they are from, their heritage, their skin color, things that are it's just biology. It's out of their control. It's just passed down. Yet people hold them accountable for it. So next week we will talk about
this general.
But just sit on this question for the next week. Think about what you can do to make somebody else just feel like they
belong.
They belong. You are the same. That's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to acknowledge them as the same. We're all people who just want to live our lives not held back by any social constraints. So I just want you to find a way, help someone out. And so I found this article. It shows it has 142 ways to donate in support to communities of color. And I will put that in the description below if anyone wants to donate to themselves, wants to donate to any of these amazing organizations. They're listed wonderfully if you want to donate to a certain cause. But you should also take a look back at yourself for this next week and try and find ways you yourself, doesn't have to be through money, that you yourself can better your community, your society. Just find ways to make things better and equal for all people.
Yep. All right. I think that wraps it up this week, guys. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked it, just make sure you stay tuned in these next week. We're gonna also cover deep stuff. It's not this week only. So I'm Jared.
I'm Kasher.
And I am Luke. And I would like to say, if you like these podcasts, please subscribe, like the video, comment any questions you have, any topics you'd like us to talk about. We love your guys' input on how we can make this better towards you. And please give us a follow on our Instagram and our Twitter. And from us three here at the College Cabin, I'd like to thank you guys for your time, and we'll catch you guys next week.